Car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis Wright and host David Lamb.
Good evening and welcome into the attorneys. Thanks so much for joining us. Veterans Legal Rights, our topic of conversation tonight. We've got a panel of experts here ready to deal and dig into that. Would love to have you be a part of the conversation. Throughout the program, you'll see ways that you can communicate with us. Also, attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by live for the next half hour. So a great opportunity to get some free legal advice, again, while we're on the air tonight. So take advantage of that. From the firm of Hollis Wright, managing partner Josh Wright, leading our conversation. Good to see you, sir.
You too. You too. Did you have a good week?
I did indeed. Thank you, sir.
You know, we probably don't promote it enough, but you know, we are here to talk about veterans' legal rights today with Ed Still, and we're going to work through kind of the specifics of the show. But if people have legal questions related to other issues, other topics, we're available 24/7 to answer questions, whether it's calls, texts, emails. There's going to be information on the screen, and we answer those with live lawyers that have knowledge to be able to answer those questions. And if we don't have a skill set to answer your question, we can get you to the right person to be able to do that. And so I hope people will take advantage of the service that we're providing, because it is a free legal service to be able to answer legal related questions for folks. So hopefully that will happen. But tonight, if you remember last week, we did a show on the volunteer lawyers program through the Birmingham Bar and the Veterans Legal Program. We're going to be doing something similar, but totally unique area. We're going to be talking with Ed Still today on the issue of veterans' legal rights. And Ed, first of all, welcome and thank you for being on our show. We really do appreciate it. This is such a unique area of the law that there can't be a lot of lawyers in Alabama that have the skill set that you do. We're going to talk about your book that you wrote and whatnot in a little bit, but how did you get into this area of the law?
I sort of stumbled into it, to be truthful. I was asked by the Alabama Education Association to handle the case of a teacher who was being, we contended, fired because she had gone off on military leave twice during one school year, and I think the principal just got concerned about having her around, and so they asked me to work on her case. I started working on that, then got with some other attorneys in the National Employment Lawyers Association. We put together a program about this, and I said, hey kids, why don't we put on a show, you know? Why don't we do an article or something like that? Well, it came to be, it's a book. And it's an enormous book, too. But as I pointed out, there's 500 pages of text in this thing, but the rest of it, see, it's pretty thick, is appendices. It's got a copy of the law, a copy of the regulations. I've even put in a chapter in the last couple of years about the way this law has developed since 1940. And because this, you can trace this back, its lineage, back to the first Draft Act in 1940.
If you were going to explain this show and explain really what we're talking about today with veterans' legal rights, how would you do that? What are the Cliff Notes version? Because to kind of set this up for people to understand, we're going to be talking about employment of veterans that may be in active military and then they come back, and then reemployment after they do come back, I guess, is one of the things we're going to talk about.
That's right. The employment phase of that is something that was added in about the 1980s. And previously, the 1940 law required that you just get your job back. And gradually, they kept fiddling around with the law to take care of problems that developed. And then they decided that there was a problem with discrimination, and by they, I mean Congress. That there was a problem with discrimination against people who were in the military reserves or the National Guard. And that's the situation my first teacher client was in. She was in the reserve, and so it wasn't a question of her getting her job back. It was a question of her keeping her job, see? And so you get into situations where the employer, the prospective employer, finds out, oh, you're in the Guard, really? How much time does that take? Yeah. Do they call you up every once in a while, for active duty service? Well, yes, sir. It could happen that we get sent off to wherever the hot spot is at the moment. Well, okay, we'll get back to you. And then they never get back to the person. So that person's been discriminated against. Then you have the situation where the person's already employed. And like my teacher client, they get called up twice for training in 1 year, and the principal, the supervisor, whatever it happens to be, says, well, this is just not going to work out. We need to have somebody here all the time. Well, the law says you've got to make accommodations for that person. Military, the defense of this country comes first. That's one of the things the Constitution says the Congress is supposed to take care of. And so Congress is taking care of it in that way.
Now, is there a federal statute that kind of falls under this area of the law?
Yes.
What is that?
It's called the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. Nice mouthful, yeah. Which gets made into an acronym, USERRA, okay. Which if you look up, gives you a car company here in Birmingham. Google thinks you put the U in there. It doesn't belong in there,
We got a comedian on. I like it. I like it. All right, so let's talk in general terms. So assume I'm a veteran and I could get called to some form of National Guard or active military duty, and I'm applying for jobs. Can I be discriminated against for that reason?
No, you cannot. However, you might be, and I tell you, hiring cases are difficult unless you've got a smoking gun. Unless the employer says, we had a guy who was in the National Guard here a couple of years back, and it just didn't work out. We're not hiring anybody from the National Guard. If they say that in front of a witness, right, that you can get to testify, yeah, you got gold right there.
What about promotions and demotions and bonuses, those types of things that are impacted? Maybe somebody's not promoted because they are in the National Guard, for example.
Right. All of those count as being a form of discrimination. So you've got hiring, but then you've got promotion and firing and demotion and all kind of fringe benefits. If they say, well, we're just not going to pay your pension while you're gone. Well, that's illegal.
Gotcha. All right, when we come back, because I know we're getting ready to go to commercial break, when we come back, I want to talk about how damages are assessed in some of these cases and how Ed has the relationship with the client, how kind of that works.
Okay. All right, we're stepping aside our first break of the evening. Great opportunity to remind you how to get in touch and join the conversation. The way you can communicate with us is right there on the screen. Also, you can find the firm on Facebook as well as Twitter. Stay tuned. We're coming right back.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright, a personal injury law firm. Thank you for watching The Attorneys. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never needs legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple. Provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to the show or related to other accident or injury-related topics, you can call, email, or text us. Or you can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or simply contact us by going to hollis-wright.com and click on the Contact Us link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us watching The Attorneys.
Welcome back into The Attorneys, talking about veterans' legal rights. Would love to have you pick up the phone and call a veteran maybe that has some issues, some questions, probably going to get answered tonight. Also, attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by live right now. Another great opportunity for you to get your questions answered. One of the neat things that the firm does, very active on social media, Facebook and Twitter. A neat program that's going on right now, a giveaway, giving away nifty, these cool devices. These iPad Airs are just amazing. You guys are giving away two. All you have to do is like and share. So like the Hollis Wright Facebook page, search the term Hollis Wright, you'll find it. Like that page and share the Sunday Post, and you'll be entered to win one of these.
That's right. And you know, we talk about this each week, and we're doing a 6-week giveaway, and we're giving away 2 iPad Airs at the end of that 6 weeks live on Facebook. And what we're trying to do is expand the breadth of the Facebook, kind of exposure that we have, because people may not realize, and we want them to realize, that we answer questions on Facebook all week long. Right. We provide free legal information that could be really relevant to things that people are going through on Facebook every week. And so we want an opportunity to be able to kind of expand the breadth of those that have an opportunity to view the legal posts that we put out, the legal information that we provide, and also to ask questions in that forum if they have a legal question during the week. So hopefully this will be a way to encourage people to come to the Facebook page and like us so that they can follow us in the future.
Yeah, and it's just as simple as that. Head to the page, like it, and then share the Sunday Post.
When we were going out to break, I wanted to talk for a moment about kind of how contracting works. If you've got a veteran, for example, that feels like they're being discriminated against, whether it's a hiring issue, and I recognize your comment that those are harder cases unless there's good information to support the claim, but the promotions, the demotions, the terminations, those types of claims, how does somebody contract with you? Does it cost them out of pocket to do that, or does the federal statute protect your legal right or your legal fees if you're successful in a case?
Well, let me give you some good news for the veteran to begin with. A lot of times I say to a person, okay, you're going to have to pay the filing fee for this case. And you know how that is. That runs $300 and up in state or federal court. But this statute provides no court costs for the veteran.
Wow.
And anybody bringing a USERRA case all the way up to the Supreme Court just fills out a form, says I'm a veteran, they don't have to pay. Now, as far as paying me, the law provides that the lawyer, upon winning, I have to win these things, gets an attorney's fee. So I've got a real incentive, to make sure that the person wins so that I can get paid. So most of the time I don't charge anything at all. If it was going to be a groundbreaking case of some sort, we might have to talk about, we're going to push the boundaries of this just a little bit.
But free consultations, regardless of people call you and say, hey, here's the circumstance I've got, and I feel like I'm being discriminated against. You'll work with them to kind of assess and evaluate what they've got.
That's right. I field these telephone calls frequently.
So I saw the firm fact when we were coming in from break, Ed, and it talked about if someone's in active military service and they come back and they're working and then they've got to go back into active military service, their job is protected by federal statute for a period of time. Is that correct?
That's right. The law says they are protected up to 5 years, but there's in our book there's something like 2 or 3 pages worth of exceptions for that. We've got a footnote for every exception. I mean, we're lawyers after all. Right. We put a footnote on anything. So there are a lot of exceptions, and basically the bottom line is most people called up for active duty right now are going to be covered by an exemption to the 5 years. So I had one case in which a guy had been gone for 6 years, in different chunks, and we figured out what was not counted into that 5 years. And so it turned out it was like 3.5 years it was covered, because certain kind of training is not covered. But basically anybody involved in the war on terror, which is where most of our military seems to be at the moment, is exempt from that 5 year period.
Okay. I know that there will be an employer, somebody that manages people that is dealing with this circumstance, sitting on the couch tonight watching this and asking this question, because I know I'm asking it, which is, all right, let's assume that I have to leave this job open for this military personnel to go protect our country. I appreciate that we employ these folks. Do I have to pay them during that time frame? Do I have to provide them benefits during that time frame? Or do I just have to leave their job open so that when they come back, they get back to a regular salary? How does that generally work?
Well, they don't have to leave the job open in the sense of having nobody doing whatever that was that the person was doing. You can hire a replacement. It's just that that person is going to be laid off possibly or transferred to a different position when the veteran employee comes back. Okay. But in terms of the benefits and things, I tell you, that really gets into a complicated, we got a long chapter on that, and I hate to try to do that from memory. But basically, somebody who's under a pension plan of some sort, and the kind of people I represent a lot of times are teachers, and so they're covered by the teacher's retirement system. Gotcha. And so the employer is supposed to keep on paying into the teacher's retirement system, because also Alabama has two different laws that require that any state or county or municipal employee generally gets continues to be covered by the retirement system. Also, the employer has to make up whatever they were making. Let's say they were making $30,000 a year, and in the military they only get $25,000. I'm completely making up those figures. Sure. I don't keep the military payroll in my head, you know. But in that situation, the employer's on the hook for $5,000, okay. And that's one thing that is a catch for some employers. They don't realize that. Now, a private employer does not have to do that. They decide whether they're going to have a plan that says, we'll top you up to where you were before.
Gotcha. Okay, that's interesting.
A question we've got here: what sorts of employment are protected by the Act?
Well, the initial hiring, okay. Then the promotion. They can't say, "Oh, we're not going to give you a promotion because you're gone." 1 weekend a month. Mm-hmm. Then firing and demotion, and then all those fringe benefits we were just talking about. Okay.
Are we getting ready to go to break? All right. When we get back, I want to talk about enforcement suits against the employers, and just a little bit about who this applies to. Does it apply to employers that have 50 employees, or does it apply to everybody? Right. Let's kind of work through that just a little bit.
We'll dig into that. Taking our final break of the evening, a reminder, we'd love to have you join our conversation, ways you can do so. And again, those attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by right now live to speak with you. Stay tuned. The final segment of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Carter Clay with the law firm of Hollis Wright. When someone whose unreasonable conduct causes an injury to someone else, the law says that person is negligent. So it seems the injured person should receive some type of damages, right? Not always so in Alabama. In tonight's Legal 411, we answer the question, what is contributory negligence and comparative fault? Alabama is one of only 4 states in the nation to withhold damages based on contributory negligence, meaning if you are at fault even just a little, you cannot be allowed any damages in a case. For example, in a case where a defendant may be 99% at fault for hurting you, if you are found to be 1% at fault, Alabama law says you get nothing. 4 states, Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, and Alabama, plus the District of Columbia, are the only places in the country where a defendant can completely avoid paying if the injured person is even 1% at fault. This is very different from comparative fault, the measure used in 46 states. There are 2 versions of this system, but both essentially allow money damages based on the percentages. For example, if the injured person was 20% at fault for causing an accident, then the recovery for medical bills and wages is reduced by 20%. Numerous studies across the country show that people who live in comparative fault states believe this system of justice is more fair. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will always respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you.
Welcome back into the Attorneys, our final segment here, talking about veterans' legal rights tonight. So if you have a question about that or really any other legal subject, legal matter, attorneys from Hollis Wright standing by, again, just for a few more minutes. So that opportunity will soon be passing. So if you have a legal question on any subject, what we're talking about tonight or other, please pick up the phone and give them a call.
Let's talk, when we went off to the commercial break, I want to talk about enforcement. Question one is this. Does this apply to employers of any size, meaning the kind of the stuff we've been talking about that you can't discriminate against military personnel? Does it apply to employers of any size?
Yes.
Okay. How's that work?
Down to one.
Okay. So
if you've got an employee, you're covered by this act.
Okay. And what types of damages, we hadn't really talked about damages yet, what types of damages can a military personnel get if they prove discrimination, if they prove that they should have been reemployed, if they prove that their benefits were taken away when they shouldn't have? What kind of damages can they get?
Well, they're going to get back pay for anything that they missed. Maybe if it's a pension case, they get the pension brought up to where it ought to be. But they're not going to walk out with a whole bunch of money because of pain and suffering or anything like that. That's not covered by this law. It's back pay, front pay, and make whole remedies. So you just don't get any other kind of damages.
Does it also entitle you to that job? Meaning, can the court enforce that job, or does the court look at it and say, you know, if this was a bad environment to start with, you need to go find new employment?
Well, the law says that the court can enforce your rights, and that includes the right to get your job back, to be put in the position you should have been. If you should have gotten a promotion, they're supposed to put you in that.
Are there any punitive components to the law? You know, you hear about treble damages in some of these statutory cases. Anything like that?
You get double damages in this case, and they're called liquidated damages. And the idea is that rather than having punitive damages and rather than having those pain and suffering type damages, they give you double damages. That gives the employee an incentive to bring the case, gives the employer an incentive to not make the mistake in the first place. So in all of those situations, you're just going to walk away with double the amount. You get $50,000 in back pay, you're going to get $50,000 on top of that.
Question we've got here, what does the service member have to do to get their job back?
Well, when they come back from military service, it depends on how long they've been gone.
Okay.
You know, Congress couldn't write a simple law. They have to have something that's got steps in it. Basically,
like your book?
Yeah, like my book. That's the reason the book is so long. You know? The amount of time you're gone is reflected in how long you've got to apply. If you're gone less than 31 days, you're supposed to come back, get 8 hours of rest, show up for your next shift. So if you arrived on a weekend, for instance, and you don't have to go to work till Monday afternoon, then you're going to be okay. Situations like that. If you're gone up to 180 days, 31 to 180, you have to report within 14 days of getting back to civilian life. And if it's 180 days or more, you're supposed to report within 90 days. And that means show up and say, when do you want to put me back to work? Yeah. Now, in the case of the guy showing up at his next shift, he figures he's going to be back. They've known he's just going to be gone, for a short training.
Yeah. It sounds like part of this is a communication. I mean, it really requires good communication between the military personnel and the civilian job to make sure that there's an understanding of kind of what the role of the military personnel is and when they're going to be back.
Right. I've got cases in which my client emailed, hey, it looks to me like we're going to be held over a little bit longer in Kuwait, and it looks like now we'll be back on the 5th of July.
Open communication is key. Hey, just less than 2 minutes remaining. Want to get a final thought from the both of you, and Ed, if you don't mind, go first, please, sir. Just a final thought for our viewers tonight.
Well, this is an important law, and as I said, it goes back to 1940. When the only remedy was you get your job back. In fact, my father got his job back at the end of World War II in the job that he had been in at the beginning of World War II. And so it reflects our national desire to help out our service members.
Right. Yeah. This is not the type of case that you can go alone. Right. You need someone like Ed Still on your side. So if you're a military personnel that you feel like you're being discriminated against for some reason, if you don't remember Ed's name, contact us. We will get you in touch with Ed, because this is the type of gentleman that you want on your side to protect and lead, guide, and direct you through this process if you've been discriminated in some respects.
Yeah. Love taking care of our veterans. They've done so much for us, so appreciate what you do, Ed.
Good man. Thank you for coming
Thanks
on.
a million.
So much appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us tonight. Also, thanks so much to you as well. We appreciate you joining us each and every Sunday evening. Hey, as we wrap things up, a couple of reminders. Here's how you can get in touch with the firm if maybe a question is just popping into your mind now. Also, if you want to be a part of this iPad Air, giving away 2 of them, like the firm Facebook page and share it, and you'll be entered to win. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time right here on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.